The first time I ever heard the name Beverly Hills Hawthorne was the day the real estate agent laughed so hard she snorted. Technically, she said, wiping her nose, 500 acres of the property you're buying sits inside the BHH HOA boundaries. But look around. She waved at the endless rolling hills. The mesquite, the longhorns staring at us like we owed them money. Who's gonna enforce a covenant out here? It's been dormant for 30 years. Previous owner paid the $20 annual fee just to keep the mailbox. I bought the ranch anyway, 512 acres of raw Central Texas heaven, a crumbling 1890s limestone house, 2 barns, a spring-fed creek, and 0 neighbors closer than 4 miles. I renamed it the Bar 2 Bar, hung a new gate, and started living the life people put on bumper stickers. Ain't nobody got time for your rules. For 3 perfect years, nobody did. Then Beverly showed up. She arrived in a pearl-white Escalade so clean it looked like it had never met Texas dust. Mid-50s, blonde bob sharper than a fresh razor, sunglasses the size of satellite dishes. She stepped out in heels that sank 3 inches into my gravel like they were offended by the very concept of dirt. "You must be the gentleman squatting on lot 207, she announced, as if she'd caught me in a cardboard box under a bridge. I was leaning on the fence, repairing a stretcher, sweat soaking my shirt, chew in my lip. "Mom, I own this dirt. Paid cash. You're on private property." She smiled the way a cat smiles at a cornered mouse. Not according to the 1987 Declaration of Covenants. Section 4. No commercial livestock operations within the aesthetic envelope. Your cattle are in violation. Also, she flicked a manicured finger toward my 1972 Ford Highboy. That vehicle hasn't moved in 90 days. Abandoned vehicles. Section 7/11. And that burn pile? She inhaled dramatically. Open fires are prohibited between March and October. I spat into the dirt. "Lady, the only thing abandoned here is whatever gave you the idea you have jurisdiction on this side of the county road." She produced an iPad like a magician revealing a rabbit. "I'm Beverly Hills Hawthorne, president of the Architectural Control Committee and chair of the newly reactivated Enforcement Subcommittee. The board voted unanimously last month to bring all non-compliant parcels into alignment. You have 30 days to remove the cattle, the junk truck, the debris pile, and paint your mailbox the approved shade of colonial pewter." I laughed so hard one of the longhorns looked over to see what was funny. Beverly didn't laugh. She took photos, spun on her sinking heels, and left a certified letter taped to my gatepost that looked like it had been written by 3 lawyers who hated me personally. That was day 1. Days 229 were a masterclass in weaponized bureaucracy. Every morning I woke up to a new orange sticker on something. The barn unapproved red paint, the windmill excessive height, the horses manure management plan required. Even the damn rooster noise violation. 6:14 a.m. crow recorded at 63 decibels. I ignored every sticker. I had bigger problems. A new calf with scars, a windstorm that took half my hay barn roof, and a girlfriend in Austin who was starting to think weekend at the ranch meant reliable cell service. On day 30, the tow truck showed up for the 72 Ford. Driver was a kid who looked barely old enough to shave. "Sorry, man," he muttered, hooking the chain. Lady paid triple rate and tipped 500 cash. Stood in front of the bumper. "Son, that truck's been on blocks since Lyndon Johnson was president. You really want to die on this hill for an HOA in the middle of nowhere?" He looked at the truck, looked at me, looked at the 3030 leaning just inside the barn door like it was part of the decor. He unhooked the chain and left. Beverly called that afternoon. I let it go to voicemail. "Mr. Callahan, your continued refusal to comply has forced the board to engage Covenant Protection Services. They are fully licensed, bonded, and authorized to effect citizens' arrests for ongoing criminal trespass and theft of services. You have until noon tomorrow to vacate the premises or be removed. This is your final notice." I played it for my buddy Depp, who'd driven out with a case of Shiner and a drone to film calving season. "She's bluffing," Depp said. "Nobody's coming out here."
Famous last words.
The next morning I was in the corral, doctoring a cut on a mare's leg, when the dust cloud appeared on the horizon. Not one vehicle, 6. Black SUVs, tinted windows, those little magnetic signs on the doors that read Covenant Protection Services Uniform Division. They rolled through my gate like they owned it. 12 guys piled out in black polo shirts, khaki tactical pants, and sunglasses that probably cost more than my saddle. Every one of them had zip-tie handcuffs on their belts and the kind of swagger you only get when you've never been punched in the face. The leader was built like a refrigerator, with legs. Name tape said SGT, Hickman.
Sir, this is private property now under emergency enforcement jurisdiction of the Beverly Hills Hawthorne Owners Association, he barked. You are in violation of multiple covenants and are trespassing. Step away from the animal and place your hands behind your back.
Stood up slowly, mare's blood still on my fingers. You're on my deed, son. Recorded 2021, Burnett County. You want to leave vertical? You got about 10 seconds to get back in those SUVs. Hickman smiled like a man who'd done this 100 times in gated communities where the worst resistance was a retired dentist with a golf club.
We are authorized to use reasonable force.
He nodded. 2 guys started toward me with zip ties already out. That's when I hit the button on the little black fob in my pocket. Every rancher out here has one now. It's an app connected to 4 trail cams and a panic alert that shoots a pre-written text to 3 numbers, the county sheriff's non-emergency line, my neighbor who moonlights as a deputy, and my lawyer in Austin who billable hours like a great white smells blood. Trespassers with weapons, attempting forced removal on my property. 512 bar 2 bar ranch. Send everyone. I smiled at Sergeant Hickman. You sure you boys don't want to take another look at that contract Beverly signed? Because in about 12 minutes, this is gonna be the most expensive morning of your lives. Hickman laughed. We'll be done well before your little buddies show up, cowboy. They moved faster. One guy grabbed my arm. I let him, another spun me. I let him do that too. The zip tie went around my wrists. Cheap plastic crap you can snap if you know how. That's when the first Burnett County cruiser crested the hill, lights going full Christmas. Then another. Then a third. Then an unmarked Dodge with a whip antenna that only means one thing out
Careful
here.
with those, they're
Lieutenant
fragile.
Hire is pissed. They didn't slow down, just fanned out and boxed the 6 black SUVs so tight you couldn't open a door. My neighbor Depp, who actually is a deputy when he's not running cattle, stepped out with a grin wide enough to rope the moon. Morning, gentlemen, he called. Y'all got permits for those sidearms on private property, because I'm seeing an awful lot of trespassing with a deadly weapon right now. Sergeant Hickman went the color of spoiled milk. The lieutenant who got out next was a woman I'd played poker with since high school, Lieutenant Garcia. She took one look at me zip-tied next to my own corral, and her smile disappeared. Cut him loose, she ordered. One of Hickman's guys started to argue. Ma'am, we're private security under contract. Contract doesn't mean jack when you cross a cattle guard with guns drawn on a man who's on his own deeded land. You're all detained for felony criminal trespass. Turn around, hands on the hood. You've never seen 12 grown men in matching polo shirts move so fast. I rubbed my wrists where the zip ties had been and looked at Hickman. 18 minutes, I said, checking my watch. Told you. Garcia walked over, trying not to laugh. You owe me a new drone, Callahan. Dispatch thought this was an active shooter until your text came through.
And it's that. Send the bill to Beverly, I said. She's got an Escalade that costs more than your annual budget.
They cuffed every single one of the Covenant Protection guys with their own zip ties poetic justice and loaded them into the backs of cruisers like the world's saddest Uber pool. Hickman was still protesting as they folded him into the cage. This is false arrest. We have a signed enforcement order. Garcia leaned down to the window. Son, the only thing signed around here is your arrest warrant. Judge is already on his way to the ranch for a livestock show, so we'll do the arraignment in my horse trailer if we have to. That's Texas. The dashcam footage went viral before the last cruiser even left my gate. Someone in dispatch leaked it to a buddy who posted it on TikTok with the caption, "When the HOA picks the wrong ranch." 60 million views in 4 days. I didn't even have to upload it myself. Beverly's Escalade showed up again the next afternoon, alone this time. She looked like she hadn't slept. Makeup still perfect, but the eyes were wild. She stayed in her vehicle at the end of the driveway and used the intercom like I was a fortress.
This has gone too far, she announced. I'm willing to drop all charges if you simply comply.
I was on the porch, drinking coffee with Lieutenant Garcia, who'd come back to return my drone and drink said coffee. She raised an eyebrow at me. You want me to handle this? I shook my head and walked down the steps.
Beverly, I called. 12 of your boys are out.
On a $100,000 bond each right now. Charges include felony trespass with a deadly weapon, false imprisonment, and my personal favorite, conspiracy to commit kidnapping. You sure you want to keep talking through a speaker? She opened the door and stepped out. Heels again. Same sinking result. I was assured they were licensed peace officers, she said, voice cracking for the first time. They're licensed to stand outside a Walmart in San Antonio and look stern, I said, not to put hands on a man 2 counties away on land that's been in my family's name longer than your HOA has existed. Garcia stood up on the porch. Mrs. Hills Hawthorne, you're on private property again. I'm going to need you to leave. Beverly ignored her and looked at me. Do you have any idea who I am? My husband is the regional VP. Mom, Garcia interrupted, your husband's title doesn't carry weight with the Texas Rangers, and Captain Rodriguez is pulling up right now. An unmarked Tahoe rolled in behind Beverly's Escalade, blocking her exit. Out stepped a man in pressed jeans, white shirt, badge on his belt, and the kind of cowboy hat that costs more than most cars. Ranger Captain Rodriguez and I had branded calves together when we were 16. He tipped his hat to Beverly. Afternoon, ma'am. Mind stepping over here? Got a few questions about a possible organized criminal enterprise involving interstate fraud and abuse of legal process. Beverly's knees actually buckled. She caught herself on the Escalade's door handle. I almost felt bad. Almost. Rodriguez spent 2 hours in my kitchen with a recorder and a legal pad, while Beverly sat in the back of his Tahoe with a female deputy. By the time they left, the HOA's corporate charter was under review by the Attorney General. Covenant Protection Services had their license suspended pending investigation, and Beverly was looking at personal liability that started with the letter M and had a lot of zeros. 3 weeks later, the judge threw the book so hard it left a dent. Every member of the enforcement team took a plea for misdemeanor trespass and paid restitution. The company itself got hit with a 7-figure judgment. And Beverly, the DA offered her a deferred adjudication deal if she resigned as president, dissolved the HOA's enforcement committee, and personally paid my legal bills. She signed faster than a man agreeing to a vasectomy. Last I heard, she put her house on the market and moved to a condo in the Woodlands where the HOA fees are $3 grand a month and the fines are enforced by people with actual guns and actual authority. I still get orange stickers in the mail sometimes, out of habit I guess. I use them to start the burn pile. Yesterday a brand new gate sign showed up from an anonymous sender. It's hand-carved cedar, 6 feet wide, hangs over the cattle guard where Beverly's Escalade once got stuck. It says,
"Welcome to the Bar Cruzimo Bar Ranch."
Population. Me, 127 head of cattle, 1 rooster who doesn't give a damn about decibels, and 0 HOAs. Underneath, someone burned in smaller letters.
Suit, 18 minutes.
Remember it. I hung that sign with pride, right next to the no trespassing notice and the security camera warning. Because out here, the only covenant that matters is the one between a man and his land. And nobody, no committee, no Karen, no rent-a-cop with a polo shirt and illusions of grandeur gets to write a single word of it but me. Fade out on a Texas sunset, a cold shiner, and the sound of a rooster who just hit 64 decibels and doesn't care who knows it. The end.